up another Carrie Stevens streamer from the Hilliard book today. This is the Charles E. Wheeler, named after close friends of both Carrie and her husband. Pretty straightforward fly, similar to many others that she's tied. The body has no tail. It has a floss body with a silver tag and rib. This one has a teal flank feather in the side of it. Really high contrast in there. I think goes well with the red duck breast feather as well as the cheek of jungle cock. But just a fun, straightforward fly. That's the Charles E. Wheeler. I'll get started tying. Start the streamer with my hook in the vise. This is a Partridge CS15 in a size 4. Again, in some of the videos I've mentioned, I will use a CS5-9. Yeah, it's a Partridge CS5-9X, which is a shorter shanked hook than this CS15. And that's simply because the wings, if my hackles are long enough, which for this one they are, if they're long enough, I'll use the larger hook. But if for whatever reason feathers are getting scarce on a particular saddle or something like that, and they're smaller, then I'll go down to the CS5. Debarb the hook. I'm going to attach my thread. It is a red floss body on this, so I'm going to initially start out with a white thread. This is a Danville 210 in white. There is a tag on the back of this and then the floss body and rib, so I can attach my thread up here, get a base layer of thread down, attach the tinsel for the tag and the rib, come back up, tie in the floss and come back up here and then apply both of those. Since there's no tail, I don't have to do the tag and the rib in 2 different steps. My base layer of thread in place, I will now put in the tinsel. I'm using, this is a Danville silver and gold Mylar tinsel in a size 10. It's a silver tag and rib, so I'll tie this in with the gold side out. You could do this in a couple of different ways. I could actually run my thread all the way down to the end, tie this in and come back forward. I do this simply because it secures that tinsel in real well back here. You could put some flex cement on this if you want to secure that a little bit better. I'll run my thread down to about the point, and then bring my thread back up in touching turns. Keep that all nice and smooth. Here I'll tie in the floss and then advance my thread forward so that I can apply both of those. I'm using a Danville 4-strand Rayon in red for the body on this. I use all 4 strands. My thread forward. You can put some wax on this if you want. Gives it a little bit better grip. I find that the materials don't kind of slide around underneath the thread as much with that wax on there. So with my thread in place up front, I will now apply floss for the body and then the tinsel for the tag and the rib. the body in, the tag, and the rib in. I'm now ready to tie in some white bucktail for the underbelly. I should say for the belly, for the underbelly. Just using some regular white bucktail. I've already selected a clump of this and stacked this. We just want to get any wild errant hairs out of there so that this is all pretty uniform. Again, when this is being fished, I think all of it is going to kind of sweep back. So I don't know that if you have any that are sticking out, it's really going to make that big of a difference, especially if you're fishing them. I'm going to secure those in. Then I'm going to tie in the hackle. Now the throat is just some white hackle. I'm using some schlappen for this. I'm going to tie this in. I want the first clump is going to go in right on the bottom. It's going to extend about halfway down the belly. I'm going to advance my thread forward a little bit, and the other two clumps are going to be tied in same spot, but on the sides of the bottom. Meaning that they're going to be tied in right here, but they're going to be not on the outside right out here or the bottom, but in this section here, and then in this little section right up there. Tie the first one in here. The idea here is that we're trying to cover up some of the thread wraps from previous material being tied in with both of these clumps. And I'm sticking to the white thread instead of the red because the head of this is a black head with a red band. Right now I'm sticking to the white because the white's going to blend in with the throat and the belly better than the red would. So, but you'll also notice that my thread is just about at the back section or close to the middle section of the head. So when I'm making the head, a lot of these white thread wraps right here will all get covered up. That's the thought behind this. See, now the wing, when it goes in, will be covering up this small section here and this small section, but on the underside, see how the barbs for that throat are covering up some of those white thread wraps on the sides. I'm going to advance my thread forward to behind the eye of the hook. Now I'm going to attach the red thread. I'm using a Danville 6/0 70 denier in red for this. I put down the red thread for tying in the wing and making the head of the fly, and then put the black bands in. The primary reason for that is that if I used all black thread and then put in a red band, the black thread underneath would darken up all of that red band in there. So the red band will stay more pronounced and a truer red color doing it this way. So with my thread about the middle of the head here, I'm going to start tying in the wing. First part of the wing is some peacock herl. Use 4 to 6 strands of peacock herl. We're going to tie these in about the same length as the belly. I'm going to secure those in, keeping a nice platform here for tying in the wing. The main part of the wing consists of 2 gray hackles Each side has 2 gray hackles, and there is a shoulder of teal flank, which is a very dark barred flank feather, similar to mallard flank, which actually you could use. You look in most bags of mallard flank that you get, you'll have a few of the flank feathers that are darker, almost looking like teal. So if you don't have any teal, you could use some of the high contrast mallard flank feathers for this. There's also, the recipe calls for a duck breast feather dyed red. Now this is a chicken breast feather dyed red. I'm not certain what the difference between the duck and the chicken is, but that red feather goes about half to 3/4 of the way down the shoulder, and then there's a cheek of jungle cock. I've already pre-assembled my wings. You could tie these in individually if you wanted, not pre-assembled. It's up to you. I've got a couple of different videos on how I pre-assemble these using rubber cement. I will try to remember to leave a link in the description for those 2 videos. For those of you that are new to any of these videos, it's a simple process. It certainly does help in tying these in with having them all assembled. Once I get the butt ends of those rakuses to the right length, all I have to do is just put the feather on the side here. The base of that will be tied in again on top, but towards the side on top, not directly on top. So when you're looking at it, it's over towards this side because the other one will sit in right next to it. I want this just to go down nice and even along the sides. And then I'll tie the other one in just on the other side. Like I said, pre-assembling these wings just makes it so much easier when it comes to tying these in and doing the final wing assembly for the fly. That one got in a little bit crooked. I'm going to take it back out and move the base of it a little bit further in, and then reattach that. See how we're doing. Still is a little bit crooked. I think it's being pulled over on the top just a little bit. So I may have to tie this one in a little bit more on the side. Sometimes they go in really, really simple and easy. Sometimes they're just a little bit more finicky. You know, you're dealing with a natural material in these feathers. It's not a synthetic, so we don't have a lot of quality control on these in terms of the rachis always turns out a certain way, so it's predictable how it's going to act when you tie it in. Sometimes they just get a little bit finicky, but I think that one's going in okay. Now I'm just going to shape the head of the fly and cover everything up with the red thread. Once I have the head the shape that I want, put a little wax on my thread, do a 4 or 5 turn whip finish here, just to secure the red thread. I'm going to take the black thread, which is a Danville 70 Denier in black. I'm going to attach it on the rear portion. You want to divide the head into 3 equal sections-ish. They don't always turn out nice and even 3, but that's the idea. That's what you're shooting for. I'll put the black band in the rear portion and then secure the thread and put it up front to do the front band. With the two black bands in, the head is all completed, so I will apply some head cement. This is a fly-tight head cement. It's an alcohol-based cement that's thin. We'll soak down into those thread wraps and secure that head very, very well. I'll come back and put a couple coats of a clear lacquer on here, and that's just to help to protect the threads while this is being fished. Gives it a nice sheen, but it isn't like a real thick glossy coat. The lacquer, that is. So there is the Charles E. Wheeler, another Carrie Stevens pattern. Rather handsome with that high contrast teal in there. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.